So, I have a problem. It's been a little over a year since I started going after platinum trophies, and while I had a lot of fun, I haven't tested my limits. That was until Concord came out and gave me one of my toughest challenges to date. And that got me wanting to push the envelope even more and see what can I do in the shortest amount of time. And that brings us to today. I have 24 hours to get 5 platinum trophies. And if I fail, I will spin a wheel of 100-hour plus platinums and will have to complete it in my next video. And I have to say, some of these games are no joke. But before we get into that, we have to set the ground rules for today's challenge. First up, absolutely no shovelware. No small, easy games that you can get into 2 to 3 minutes without any effort. This has to be a real game with an actual trophy grind. Number 2, at least 3 of my games have to be free. It can be from PS Plus, EA Access, or just a free-to-play game. There are so many great games that exist in PS Plus that I want to make it a goal to find games that I normally wouldn't play and get out of my comfort zone just a little bit. And number 3, and probably the most important rule, I must choose one game that takes at least 10 hours to platinum. Now I'm going off based on PSN profile trophy guides, but this makes it so I can't just platinum short games and get done in like 8 or 9 hours. So this will really test me and make sure that I'm efficient with my time. Now with all the rules established and with the timer ready, we now have 24 hours to get 5 platinum trophies. To begin, the first game I chose was one that brings me back to the days of playing on an iPod Touch. The first game up is Lara Croft Go. Released originally on mobile in 2015, then had its PS4 release a year later in 2016. This was a spin-off puzzle game in line with the rest of the Go series by Square Enix, featuring spin-offs of Hitman and Deus Ex, where the goal is to reach the end of a level with strategic movement with interconnected nodes and lines, while also worrying about the environment around you. This game was the perfect start for our challenge. With only 18 trophies in total, including the platinum, should be easy, right? Well, not exactly. While with the guide, the game isn't particularly difficult, the collectibles in this game are very well hidden and only can be seen at very small parts of each level. And with there being over 160 vases in the game, we have to keep a watchful eye. But if we can do that and beat every level, the platinum should be ours. We start in the main story, where through each chapter, we need to find and break all the vases to find the gems and relic fragments. The story is pretty straightforward as Lara Croft is exploring the ruins of an ancient civilization to discover the secrets inside and uncover the myth of the Queen of Venom. Now through the first few chapters, I really wanted to try and complete these puzzles on my own because I wanted to feel special or something like that. But that's when I learned about the hint system in this game. It basically gives you the most optimal route of every level, and it doesn't void any trophies. We will still need to find the vases on our own, but this will save me a ton of time and my ego. As each chapter progresses, there's new elements added to the levels for that little extra spice. From enemies like spiders, or with pillars that you can move to help you reach new heights. With hints, it wasn't any more complicated, just took a little bit longer each level. But that didn't stop me from earning trophies along the way. From easy miscellaneous trophies like put this apple on your head, for throwing a spear 6 nodes or farther, and gathering moss, for letting myself get crushed by a boulder. As we get close to the ending of the main story, we encounter the Queen of Venom, which is a big-ass snake coming for our cheeks. Through some strategic moves, aka I just use hint mode so I can turn off my brain, we slayed the queen and unlocked Ophidiophobia. Hey yo, what the fuck? Now we finished the main story and got the last collectible, getting us Atlas of Beyond. And that begun our DLC runs. Now the DLC is included in the platinum, but it is more of the same. Beat each level, break all vases, get the platinum. Now the only change in the DLC are these Firestone enemies who respawn 4 turns after taking them out. But if we kill one 4 times in one mission, we get the trophy Deja Vu. But after another hour or so of being carried by a hint mode, we get our last few trophies for completing all relics, breaking all vases, and that's when it happened. I gotta say, it's pretty cool. Like, I like these games a lot. I remember playing like a Friday the 13th version when I was younger on mobile, and that gives us Back to Reality, Return from the Mirror of Spirits, and that should mean A platinum trophy, a true adventure for collecting all trophies in Lara Croft Go. That is number 1. On to the next one. With 1 platinum trophy done, and that wasn't too bad. It only took 4 hours. It was supposed to be faster. I knew the levels took forever to load, but almost 2 hours longer than I expected. We got some time to make up. Now for the next game, I really wanted to go back and play a retro title. But when I saw for $10 I could get Doom plus Doom 2 plus all of its expansions all in one game, I knew what I had to do. The problem was this game, you were going to have to beat certain levels on its hardest difficulty and then also having to speedrun levels. So there was no way a guy like me, who has very little experience inside of Doom, could do this in a reasonable amount of time and still complete our challenge. Well, except I got a trick up my sleeve. You see, part of Doom plus Doom 2, there is a debug mode. Now this debug mode allows me to plug in a keyboard and mouse and type in certain commands to allow me to have things like God mode and no clip, as well as use whatever weapons I want and need. Now I'm sure for a few of you, you might not like the way I went about this, and I just want to come out and say,
I don't give a fuck.
Debug mode is a part of the game, and if it wasn't meant to be used, it wouldn't exist. So if I want any shot of completing this challenge, I'm using it, cry to a wall, I don't care. Most of the trophies require you to either get kills with a certain weapon or complete the final mission of each game and expansion. But the real challenge comes even with debug mode, the speedrun. The Trophy Untouchable requires you to complete 8 levels in a row under the par time for each level without dying on ultraviolence difficulty. Now with no clip, it should be pretty easy, right? Well, kinda. We don't have to find any of the key cards, but my dumbass decided to not look up where I needed to go, so I'm just floating aimlessly around each level trying to find the exit before each par time is up. And there were many times I got close to that time, but on my first attempt, we unlocked Untouchable. Now the rest of the kills trophies are pretty easy. You just have to find certain spots with a lot of enemies in each game so you can have the right weapons to use across the board. The worst one had to be Indiscriminate Headhunter for killing one of every enemy. There are 23 total enemies in the game across all games and DLC. The problem is the game doesn't tell you which ones you have killed, it just gives you a total how many different enemies you have killed. So it's really just a blind guess trying to remember which ones I have or have not seen. And certain enemies only appear in certain levels, so that caused some confusion, but eventually after pulling up an enemy guide, I found the last couple I need, unlocking us the trophy. And that just left us with completing the final few games, final mission, and that's how we got here. Alright, here we are. We are on the final mission, or the final game mode that we have to play, Legacy of Rust. Once we've beat the final level, we will get this platinum. Let's go. Alright, we turned on all the necessary debug console commands so we can just head to the final level. Well, maybe this is the last area. That's a big ass rocket about to take off, so just start spamming some rockets. We have invincibility, so I'm not tripping. This game's been pretty decent. To be honest, it took way longer than I thought it was going to. Most people are getting it done in a couple hours, but it's clear that I'm just not that optimized yet, or I'm not as good at like optimizing my runs, because it's taking me probably like closer to 4 hours, which is fine, not that big of a deal. Oh, okay, that's it. Legacy of Rust. Reach the end of Legacy of Rust, and that should mean Master of Doom for getting the Platinum Trophy in Doom plus Doom 2 plus all their DLC. Rip and tear until it's done. That is Platinum number 2. Done. Now, with 2 out of the 5 Platinums already done, we have made good progress, but we need to keep shaving time in our next few Plats if we want to have enough time for the last one, which the guide shows it to be 15 hours. Platinum number 3 comes from one of, if not my favorite franchises of all time.
Hello there.
Star Wars The Clone Wars was a PS2 game made in 2002, but ported to PS4 and PS5 in July of this year. Surely this game will bring some nostalgia and joy and won't be a buggy mess with a confusing storyline and weird gameplay mechanics. That could never happen from a Star Wars game.
I don't believe what I'm hearing.
This game has you for the majority playing as Mace Windu with sometimes as Obi-Wan or Anakin, where most of the game you are not spent on the ground with a lightsaber. No, you are inside piloting different Republic gunships and tanks. This game is so weird and feels so out of place, but at the same time feels so right for the PS2 era of games, where everything and anything was being made, whether it made sense or not. But this game is pretty straightforward. Beat the game while completing 30 bonus objectives, and the plat is basically ours. In each mission, there are 3 bonus objectives per level, with there being 16 levels in the main game. If we get on average of 2 per mission, the trophy should be ours. However, some of these objectives are just plain annoying and ruin the flow of the levels, like finding random R5 droids on the map or completing certain objectives in a certain amount of time. With the buggy controls, especially on the Republic gunship, with its terrible turning, made these objectives very annoying to get. Now, along the way, we got some easy objectives like defeating 300 enemies and giving 25 squad commands. And with that, this game was pretty easy up until the final mission, as we are taking out some spaceship thing that they told me about but literally couldn't be asked to care about. The ship has these lasers that track you, and unless you have the right amount of boost, will just chunk damage on you with nothing you can do about it. And the major issue is the item drops for health and missiles are scattered and limited, so if you do not use them wisely, you will die a lot. Now luckily, with us being pretty efficient during the main story, this didn't take up too much of the time that I expected it would, but enough to make a difference. As we finished and beat the game, we unlocked Field Specialist for getting 30 bonus objectives and reaped the glory of victory for completing the final mission. Now we just have 2 more trophies to get, and that platinum is ours. Alright, we have 2 trophies left before the platinum for the Clone Wars. We just gotta really get 100 kills with Anakin, and it's basically ours, so let's do it. Alright, so from what I know, we just go into multiplayer, and we do Geonosis Academy, which just goes against waves and waves. We can be a few different Jedi, but we're going to be Anakin, because that's who we need. Press start. I don't know how many enemies we need to eliminate. It says survive waves, that's what we're doing. What is this camera angle? Well, yeah, we just keep doing this till we hit 100 kills. I will give it, for a PS2 game, like, they really, like, opened up a lot of the areas. Oh my god, we already got it. The Chosen One. I thought we were going to be here for, like, 15, 20 minutes. No, we already were pretty close to getting it. 100 enemies as Anakin on foot. So now, all we have to do is we're just going to go ahead and leave. We go to Options, and we go to Bonuses. And we just need to watch Unit Viewer. Or we just need to look at all the different units that they have. And then Making of a Video Game. That's going to give us View My Secrets for unlocking and opening the unit viewer and making of bonus materials. And that should mean Clone Wars Veteran, another platinum trophy down for unlocking all the trophies inside of Star Wars The Clone Wars. That's platinum number 3. On to the next. We are over halfway there, but time is not on our side. We really need to lock it in. 2 platinum trophies left, less than half the challenge left, and we still need to get a game with a 10-hour platinum. It's not looking good, but I'm committed to the task. I wanted to find a linear game that I could breeze through without any RNG elements that could set me back. And I came across this PS Plus game called Call of the Sea. This is a first-person adventure puzzle game where you take on a lady named Nora Everhart who is on search for her husband who was lost on an island. And while she is there, she discovers way more than she could have ever imagined. This game is a really fun comfort story game, just enjoying the great visual and well-crafted story from beginning to end. I highly recommend you play this. Now when it comes to the trophy list, things become a little less cushy. We must get 100% on each chapter, and we do that by finding journal entries, murals, as well as other collectibles on the map. This game is scattered with them, so I had to scour from corner to corner of each chapter to find everything I needed. Now there are missables along the way, like fawning developers for finding the developer's logo on a wall, and you look that up in a guide for playing some notes on a music box. This game is full of secrets, and with each chapter there's a secret collectible we need to find. Now some come early on in the chapter while others are hidden at the end. But as we reach the end of chapter 6, we collect trophies for finding all story logs and puzzle notes, and we have to make a tough decision to finish the game. If you don't want spoilers to the game, skip to the timestamp on screen. Alright, here we are at the end. What a game, man. I had no idea about this game until literally a few hours before I started playing it. I thought it was just going to be whatever. The story's actually really good. I gotta give it to him. This was a pretty well-made story. For something that's so simple, just walking around, finding notes. Like, it's a very well-composed story that, to be honest, I had no idea what to expect, and I wasn't disappointed. If you haven't played this game, you definitely should. I'm gonna try not to spoil anything. It's free with PS Plus. I think it's with the PS Plus Extra. You should definitely give it a try, 100%.
Even today, so many years later, I still doubt whether I did the right thing. I lied to you for the first and last time. But I've paid such a high price for my deceit, Nora. Fate has punished me with a long and sorrowful life. My dear old pal.
W. Harrison. Wow. It gets really emotional at the end, man. Holy. Okay. The only thing I have now for completing the game, and that should give us Call of the Sea Platinum Trophy number 4. A little emotional at the end, I'm not gonna lie, but damn was that a good game. And that is officially Platinum 4 out of 5. But while we are close to the finish line, our hardest challenge is yet to come. With less than 10 hours to go to whatever 10-hour game we choose, we need to clean up and shave at least 3 hours if we want to beat this challenge. So with that in mind, I need to choose a skill-dependent game. And that's where I went with Fall Guys. Wait. No, sorry. I meant Stumble Guys. Stumble Guys was originally a mobile party game very similar to Fall Guys, and by very similar I mean practically identical. But recently in April of this year, they made a version directly for consoles. Now, you might call me stupid here, but the trophy guide of this game shows a 2 out of 10, but it takes 15 hours to complete. To get this platinum, it's pretty simple. I need to play 300 levels, win or advance on all base levels, win 5 games, and unlock multiple types of cosmetics. We will get to that later. The goal now is to get used to the mechanics and start racking up these levels. I realized very quickly that these games are at least half filled with bots, which does help my case, but there are guys that were real and they were sweaty. And sadly, there are pay-to-win emotes in this game that allows you to punch your opponents that make it very hard to win in certain games. But I wouldn't let it stop me. We were able to win our first game unlocking Champion, but we still needed 4 more for the larger trophy. Mastering the movement guaranteed me a final round attempt on each game I played. And for 4 more games, I shoved those 12-year-olds' heads into the goddamn dirt and got me Master Champion for winning 5 games. The hardest trophy was done, right? While the most skill-dependent one was out of the way, there were a few trophies lurking in the back that had me worried. Part of this platinum, I need to get 50 wheel spins, 40 unique skins, 10 unique animations, and 20 emotes. Now in the guide, I was told that the Stumble Pass, basically a battle pass, that I would be able to earn most of the cosmetics I needed through it, and then the rest I could pick up during the events that were going on. But that was a lie. Through the Stumble Pass, which I did spend a few bucks on, I'm desperate, leave me alone, I got a few skins and other cosmetics, but it wasn't going to be enough. The events that were active at the time had no cosmetics to offer me. I was in a rock and a hard place. I had to make a decision to either concede the challenge or pull out the wallet and spend some money for gems. It was my only option. I'm not losing this challenge. I spent a few bucks in shame, but committed to see this challenge through till the end. So with these gems, I started popping a few trophies, round and round for 50 wheeled spins, and eat my dust for 5 different footsteps, as well as stand out for 40 unique skins. But that's when my next problem hit. There wasn't enough items in the store to get me the last few trophies I needed. All the time, money, blood, sweat, and tears was for nothing. I made one last desperate attempt to give me a shot. I remembered that this game was originally a mobile game, and that maybe, hopefully, with the gems I have left and the time I have left, there are some extra cosmetics I can get before I lose. And by a saving grace, the mobile game was almost entirely different from the console port. A different Stumble Pass, different cosmetics, and different events I can unlock from just playing. I went through and got everything I needed. Through a few hours of grinding, I unlocked the final cosmetic trophies. Show off and right side parentheses. Now I just need to finish my 300 levels and this plat is mine. Can I finish in time? Alright, here we are. We gotta be quick. We only have 3 more levels we have to play till we get this platinum. So we're just gonna go ahead and hop in. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but we are playing this with bots on probably the fastest level, because all it takes for each level for me to get is one of these people to hit a laser. And since they're bots, they pretty much always do it just like that. So we've been trying to get through these really quickly because we need to get this under 24 hours. It's going to be close. I'm pretty sure on it. I did some rough math. I haven't seen how many hours I have on this, but I'm worried we're going to be really, really close. So once we get this, we're going to hop out of the game immediately so they don't add any more hours on here. You know, as we're finishing stuff, it's crazy to think where we were at just like literally a few hours before this, where I didn't even think I was going to be able to get this platinum. But luckily, the mobile game has more attire and skins that are different from the PlayStation game, which is really weird, and that's why I didn't think it was a thing, and nobody ever said that it did. So I just thought it was over, but luckily, here we are. We are now, you know, about to do this. We have everything we need. We just have one more round, and we will have this Stumble Guys Platinum, which doesn't have a lot of achievers, funny enough. It's only at a 0.1%. To be fair, I think it is because there's a monetary restriction, which you can avoid by just playing a lot more than I did, which is fine, because this game is actually pretty good. There are some pay-to-win elements that aren't so great, but... And Butter is dead. That should mean round is over. Has won the game. And that's going to pop us Battler for playing 300 levels inside of Stumble Guys, and that should mean the Platinum Trophy Stumbler for collecting all trophies inside of Stumble Guys. This game has been blast, but we need to hop out immediately to make sure that we do not ruin our timer. Here we go with the final Platinum Trophy acquired, and with all the hours accounted for. If the total goes over 24 hours, we lose. Lara Croft Go took me 4 hours. Doom plus Doom 2 took me 4 hours. Star Wars The Clone Wars took me 5 hours. Next was Call of the Sea, which only took 3 hours. And finally, Stumble Guys took me 8 hours, bringing my total to exactly 24 hours. I'm not gonna lie, I did not account for it getting exactly 24 hours. I thought for sure I was either going to be under or I was going to be way over. This challenge tested me for sure, but I wanted it to get it done in under 24 hours. Not exactly 24 hours, not over the amount. So while it may be contested whether I won or lost, I'm going to take it as a loss. I could have been much more efficient at other points, and my game selection could have been better and resulted me in spending money on in-game transactions. So I'll take it on the chin. And I think you all know what that means. We must spin a wheel of 100-hour plats right now. All right, and here we are inside of the 100-hour plus platinum wheel. Now you may be looking at the list and being like, it's not all one game. There's some variation here, and I did that on purpose. So when you look at this wheel, we have things like every Ratchet and Clank. There's a ton of titles, but when you put all their guides together, it equals over 100 hours. So that's why I put it in here. That's going to go kind of across the board. So for example, both Horizon games plus their DLC is over 100 hours. And then there's games like Red Dead Redemption 2, which its base game alone is equal to over 100 hours. So we have a lot of variation here, so that way there's a lot of different games, a lot of different things we could potentially get. Instead of just having just simply 100-hour games, there's a little bit of variety in here, and it gives me a little bit of hope that we may get something a little bit easier, but I put a lot of hard stuff on this list. I'm a little nervous. But okay, here we go. I'm not going to cut the video at all from this point on. This is to show that I did this in one attempt. I don't want anyone in the comments, oh, he cherry-picked it, he cherry-picked it. I'm putting in full screen. And then we are going to spin this wheel. Here we go. It lags a little bit. Come on. Why is it lagging so much? What are we getting? Oh, no, no. Please not anything bad. Please not everything bad. Every Ratchet and Clank game. Okay, you know what? That is not the worst thing in the world. That could have been a lot worse. It's a lot of games. It's going to be a lot of grinding. But I think I can manage this. I think we can do it. This isn't too bad.